The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to the People's View.
Hello, and help me welcome our candidate for mayor, Doug Carroll. Doug, welcome aboard.
Good to meet you.
And tell me why you have a little history behind you, but
Yes.
is that the only reason that you are running for mayor, or would you like to see something special done in this town?
Well, the history that I have is Daniel Carroll owned the land that the White House is currently built on.
Mm-hmm.
And Charles Carroll signed the Declaration of Independence. So I want to, live up to my name, the family name, and do some things that everyone would be proud of.
And you've been elected representative in Ward 7 in 2012.
Yes,
And did you enjoy that? You were on the Fish and Game Committee, as I understand.
I did. I wish I could get a chance, like right now, tell everyone thank you for your votes and give me the chance to run and all the experience that I had.
Well, now you're running for mayor. Mayor's a little bit different. It's in the town that you live in, and what do you see as the major? Give me three major things that you'd like to see done if you were elected.
I want to keep everything as simple as possible. I want to, watch the spending. I believe if you don't spend it, you don't have to tax it. So I want to, everything I do, I want to keep it really simple. So maybe having a show here where I can come on and tell the people how things are going, and everything that comes up, take it one thing at a time. But with everything, working with people to keep things as simple as possible and explain to the people what's happening.
Good. I'd like to hear that because I've interviewed the current mayor a couple of times too during her years, some contentious issues and sometimes some just long-range planning that we'd like to hear about. What areas do you see for improvement, though? I mean, you must have some idea that things can be better some areas than others.
There's lots of different topics and things. People say the unions are good. If you work for the union, it's good. If you're the constituent, you're paying taxes, and it's almost like the employees work for us, and then they have the unions fighting for them. So for me to stand up and say, if the unions are going to ask for too much, I won't renew their contracts. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be too happy with me. Uh-huh. But I need to be the person who says no, and I need to be reliable, honest, faithful. So when people vote for me, they know Carroll. Whenever they see that name, they know he's the no man. I'm going to do what's hard. And someday if I run for governor, same thing. Almost 90% of the laws that come through, I might have to say no to them. We don't need so many changes. Mm-hmm. Being a state rep gave me a chance to see that.
So whether you're mayor or governor, you're veto oriented if necessary. Okay, what do you think? These contracts are then a little bit too generous? Is that what's happening in the city?
Well, they're always asking for a lot. I haven't seen all the details. What's online, I've tried to look at, doesn't seem to detail everything good. And being elected mayor will give me the chance to sit down, use my 16 years of accounting history, which is half of my life. I'm 32 right now. So if I started at 30, I'd have to be 60 to say I've been an accountant half my life.
I see.
So I want to use my experience to look over it very carefully. So the budget will be under constant audit with me. And I want to do everything I can. And I do believe in giving everyone the fair raises for living expense increases in wages. So I'm not against that. So I would actually fight for the people who work for us, if they live in Nashua or not, just as much as the unions. So I'm going to look at how they're working for them, and I want people to know, even if I don't re-sign it, I'll tell them why. I'll explain it. I'll say, no need to panic. You know what I mean? I'm going to do it because of this. They need to change the way that they're working out things. Everything that I know right now, I've hearing from hundreds of my constituents that I did talk to. I do so many taxes that I could ask any question to any one of my clients, and they are my constituents too.
So you're getting feedback just from your job.
Yes.
Do you see if you're elected mayor, will you have to do something with your regular auditing business or tax business?
I have an accounting firm. I've owned it for over 8 years. It's a corporation, and corporations live forever. It doesn't
Okay.
need me.
So
So I'm going to have it so, you know what I mean, I'm going to actively be involved in making sure that it's always growing. But I want to make sure there's no conflict of interest with anything that I do as mayor and what I do in my business. So I'm going to be careful. I already have plans that if I buy things in Nashua, I'm going to try, I should rephrase it. I'm going to try not to buy things in Nashua as investments with my money. I'm going to try to buy out of Nashua so there won't be any confusion as I tried to set myself up in
So you'll have some
good
kind of
deal.
a wall between you and
Yes.
your business.
I really believe in Nashua. So yeah, if it's my business or a personal investment, I think that I just have to be really careful, and I want to explain to the people. Just like there's corporate resolutions in my business, I would have a resolution with the people to say why I'm doing something, or I'll say if I'm advertising in this way, you know what I mean, when I'm done work, or I don't want them to have any confusion of when it's my time and they see me that I'm not acting as the mayor at that point. I will be the mayor, but if I'm, talking with my clients, it's not as capacity as mayor at that time.
Well, as mayor, then these contracts will be fully transparent.
Yes.
People will get to know why you agree or disagree with them.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll have a lot of help. There's a lot of people working at the city that have more experience than I could ever ask for. And, I'm sad to see that, Paul Bergeron is going to be retiring.
Yeah, he's a good man.
16 years.
Yeah.
So
he's very fair,
yes,
both sides.
I look forward to working with him. But now, I'm going to have to, get his number and call him. Hopefully, he's a grandfather now, and I'll have to.
He'll
have to
You have to set an appointment.
Yes, after he's done with babysitting.
Okay. Well, what about growth in this city? What do you see for growth, and what would you do or to promote it or to analyze it or to whatever involvement you'd have with growth?
Well, I believe this is a free market. So with growth, people shouldn't get confused and think that there's something magical we could do and change it. I'm going to work with the way we could advertise and say, come to Nashua and show them all the things that we could have. And I have lots of ideas of how we can keep our people safe. But I think that it's up to everyone what you want to do, where you want to live, how you want to take care of things. The growth is all up to the people. If you give them the opportunity, they'll grow. If, I have an opportunity to buy a piece of property and take care of it, I will. What's coming up right now on Main Street, they're talking about Alex's Shoes that's going to be closing. Now, in the paper, I'm going to be having an article published. I really want to tell them with my heart, with all of my heart, how I feel about it. And the thing is, there's someone who bought that building.
Right.
It's a corporation or a person. Now, if Alex's is leaving, they own it, someone owns it. That's things I have to look into as mayor. The number one thing is, it comes down to who owns it. Why should we give money, our taxpayers' money, to help those businesses just on Main Street? There's only, a few dozen of them. There's so many other businesses. They're not on Main Street. Why should there be a handout helping just the ones on Main Street? I don't believe in that. I believe talk and work with the landlords. I used to own multifamilies, and I know exactly how it works. It's up to the landlords to take care of their properties and give a good deal on the rent and know what to do and how to do it. So that's where I want everyone to know. I really believe it's up to those landlords. And if I get a chance that one of them's having a hard time, I'll step in and offer to help them out and buy it, and we could turn something around. But even at that, it's not up to the city to help me if I buy something, to help advertise for me. So if I get another Alex's Shoe Store in, that's because I did it, not because of the city.
Okay. So you, there was a current mayor and the Chamber of Commerce were trying to develop some kind of promotional aspect to the city of Nashua. Then you were not in favor of that kind of approach? The approach that they had of promoting Nashua with a brand name and that type of commercial activity?
I didn't see the whole activity of how they put it through. But I know they want to keep Nashua true to its name, and
Right. Okay, well, I no, it sort of got sidetracked, and that's what I was just.
that's probably why I didn't hear much about it.
Yeah.
Or if they didn't finish it.
Yeah,
If they start something, they should finish it.
They had a logo and a few other things, but it never really took off, and I'm not sure if people were 100% sure what their objectives were exactly. But what about the other things that the services that the city supply? The one big thing that's a problem now is the heroin situation with the people that are, it's cheaper than marijuana or something like that is what I hear, and so many people have died. Have you any ideas of how you'd approach that with the police department or whatever other services that are needed?
There's the hospital that's already have things started to help people. I heard there's possibly 10 beds are opening up to bring people in and help them out. So I think the best way is early prevention, talking with people. But when people, if they're depressed and they're using it, or they're using it because it's cheaper than other things, the number one thing is people are dying. Mm-hmm. And the only way to really make a difference is their friends. If they're real friends, you don't want to lose your friend. Even if you're at that level doing the same things with them, and you're smart enough to think, now this is enough, I don't want to die. Mm-hmm. You tell them, you got to stop. You do everything you can to save your friend. And that means, contacting the hospital, contacting other programs that can help out. And the Nashua website should list of all different things. Bridges have things that say, if you feel like jumping, call this number. Mm-hmm. So maybe in certain spots in the parks in Nashua.
Improving the communication effort, and getting it out, getting the information out, and telling them, hey, this is what happens to people who use this drug.
I heard needles have been found in the parks of Nashua, right. So I was thinking maybe we could post some small signs that say, if you feel like doing it, call this number. Mm-hmm. We want to save your life. The chemicals that they're putting into the system, they're not pure.
Well, is there some more social aspect to this where people feel that they have to get high instead of just living a normal life?
It could be a depression. Everything stems down when you have people you have the judicial system, mm-hmm. and you have it so it's really easy for a woman to say, oh, he gave me the middle finger, and then the cop can say, oh, there was a restraining order involved. Well, that makes that an assault. Mm-hmm. So when you have things like that happening and people getting arrested and spending their hard-earned money, you get people that feel like they need to do something, mm-hmm. and it's a downward spiral.
Do you see this new mental health court something help in situations like that, where it's a mental health problem, or an addict problem? Instead of putting them in jail, they might have, force them to take a certain out of jail type of program.
Yes, I heard about that. Mm-hmm. About how when they're in jail, it actually makes them lapse more, and it gets them more depressed, makes things worse, and it just costs more money for the system, and it doesn't actually help anything. Everything that I do, I'm always going to look at the taxpayers' money. Mm-hmm. I don't want taxes to go up. Mm-hmm. I'll do everything in my power not to, but I can't promise it. So when it comes to these problems that are happening, we have to find some other way of funding to help save these people.
Mm-hmm. What about you talk about taxes. There's tax cap. In the last election, they voted to have a different way of doing the tax cap, and instead of, I think the people intended on raising the tax cap, but effectively it lowered it instead. Do you think we should go back to the old way of having a tax cap, or just keep what we have now?
Well, as long as the tax cap is exactly what I think, and that's you can't go above it no matter what happens.
Well, there's always the exception, and you have to have a supermajority of the aldermen to approve going above the tax cap. But I was just wondering whether you thought the tax cap is high enough where it is.
I think it's too high. I was looking at those numbers. I first heard that Nashua's budget was $200 million. And then when I went online, it was $236 million. And then the tax cap was pushing close to 350 million. That's too much money.
Okay.
So I would look at it like one of my clients' bank accounts. I'm always proud when people are doing good. And I'd say, you know, this is a good amount of money.
Yeah.
And I want to set up things that are different, you know, to make things last. So I have a lot of questions to bring up, you know, wondering what we could do. Do I have a second to talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I've always heard that when money is given to the police department, they have to use it all up or they feel like it's going to be cut down the next time. Well, I want to set something up that each fire department separately will have their own little account where when they're given so much, if they do a good job saving which any way that they can and they put money aside, I don't want that taken back.
You want that to carry over?
I want that to stay for them and be forgotten about. They saved that money, our money. They saved it in that account. When they need it in their station for something, it'll be there. And they feel like they don't have to spend it. They'll save our money. And then what they could do is another fire department, if something comes up, they could all pitch in with all of their money that they have saved. It's our money. And then they can help the fire department that needs it the most, so they don't have to ask for money. They've saved it for many years.
Would you put any kind of controls on that? You know, I mean, if you save a few $100s, that's not much. But if you're talking about thousands or tens of thousands of dollars where you can really buy a new piece of equipment that you always wanted but can never get approved, do the aldermen have to get involved? I think there's... Then you're talking about changing the, you know, you might have to change the laws under which they operate.
I've watched the City Hall meetings a lot for the aldermen. I found it very interesting. And I've watched how they've voted on buying a new fire truck and just the money, how quickly it goes. $500,000, just like that for a fire truck. The thing is, if each of these accounts could add up and they really need it, and I believe these accounts could have as much money as they can save. If they're allotted so much money and they can save the money, they could all, if they believe they want to do that, they should be able to pool their money together and do something with it. So I want to set something up so it gives them more freedom to do what they want. Because if you're working hard and saving money, you don't want someone to come along like the, you know, a tax collector from the 1600s and say, oh, you saved money. We're going to come and take it from you now. Then you feel like you don't want to save any money. You feel like you want to be wasteful and you don't respect it. But it's the people's money and you do respect them, but it's the system that's messing everything up. So I want to put a stop to it. I want to change politics. So I'm going to do everything I can. But my thing is I always want to do little things that make a big difference.
Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up as far as the changes that you possibly will implement if you get elected?
What kind of changes would you think of?
Well, you said there's a few things you had in mind, and that was one of them, of being able to carry over money. I mean, it's not like the state where if you don't use it, it lapses, it goes into a pot, and then they decide where the whole legislature decides where to, or the governor decides where to spend it. If it's outside of money, if it's something else, changes in the way the regulations that the city operates under, you know, the zoning operation or anything, any changes in that? Is there?
Well, see, I'm glad I asked so you could bring that up. But when it comes to zoning, I want to make things simple like that too. So when people feel like they want to go and put a shed up or an addition on the house, anything, I want them to feel like they could go in, they know exactly what to do. They are very friendly in City Hall, and I want to take all their knowledge and show all the people on this show how easy it is to go in and to get a permit for something. Because fences, you can't just put a fence up without getting a permit. And pools, no matter if it's, once it's over about 2 feet, you need to go and get a permit. And, you know, you have the power and everything, they need to do an inspection. So I want to just make everything simple for people and just explain how it's worked. They pay so much money. It brings in a little bit of money to the city. And without being mayor right now, I don't know how much all these permits bring in. But I'm sure it helps that office, you know, for all of the supplies that they need.
Yeah, they are very helpful. I've found out on some personal things. I bought a house a couple of years ago, and things I needed some clarification. But what about these things like the Broad Street expansion? Do you think that's going to help the traffic in downtown and along Canal Street?
It's been something that's been long coming. We've waited a long time for it. I think it'll help out. It's laid out in a good way. I just don't believe in eminent domain. I never believe in it. Now everything is already done. So now we could only go forward and finish this, but I don't believe in big projects. I don't want to start anything new unless we really have to for some reason. So I just want to finish up these things. I believe in restoration and repairing. So when it comes to roads, bridges, anything, even what we are just building, on this Broad Street Parkway, anything it needs, we fix it. If we spent this much time and money on it, if something happens, it should be fixed right away. A small little section. I want to see that the people that are working, that they're out there and working on things that are important. I want to work with all of the departments very closely, and I want to work with the constituents and tell them where the people are, what they're working on, and I want to make sure things get done. There are a lot of talented people that are working for the city, so I want to bring out, as a leader, their best talents to help repair things and fix things and tell them we're not going to be starting any new projects.
Okay, do you consider Main Street finished, a project? It sounds like you wouldn't have gotten into it in the first place.
Never.
But I don't know if, I think there's still little things that they have to clarify. Would you finish that up, or
Yes.
Just to complete that job, or?
I'd finish everything that's already started, if they're in high schools or main streets, but I just don't want to spend any money on the parts of the landlords or the people that are renting. I saw the thing in the paper of someone damaged some of the sidewalk and they fixed it. I bet a lot of people were happy, because it should be the responsibility of who damaged the sidewalk. It's good to see someone pays for what happens. It's unfortunate. It's a lot of money. But now everyone would hopefully learn, don't damage city property. Taxpayers paid for it. We should respect it. One last thing I want to say is, as an accountant, when I see the State of the City address, I read them over for how they've been given, the State of the State address. I wonder, I would do it differently. I would like to say it like proudly that, this is how much money we owe, this is how much money we're worth, and when I started, we were at, this level, and that what we owed in debt, I brought it down 30%, and the next year I brought it down 10%. I want to show people real numbers.
Gee, Doug, you sound like a Republican. You're a Democrat.
Saving money. I believe in being bipartisan.
Okay.
I think it's too bad I need to pick a side, but I love everyone, and I'm glad, I have, a large following. It means a lot to me. And I want to do everything to keep their respect and hopefully keep everything true to my name. And I'm hoping with that someday that I could try something, that's going to be difficult. If I win this term of mayor, or when I win, I will rerun for the second and third term. I'll keep going. But the time that I lose is the time I'll run for governor. I would have run when I was younger, when Bernie Streeter was getting out. I was too young, though. You have to be 30 years old to run for the corner office.
Right.
When Donna Lee ran her second term and she ran unopposed, I was 28 and I couldn't run. And it's like I had
That was your time.
Yes.
That was your
That
time.
was my time.
And you have a number of different ideas to handle this. Fixing the roads and the bridges is always a big one. Now that you have the Broad Street Parkway coming in there, is there something that you think the town should focus on getting that land developed, or just turning it over to?
I haven't looked at all of that land, how much there is, how it works out. What's the value of that land to the city? What does it do for us? I have an approach. I always think like Warren Buffett does. Is it giving us money? Is it producing us money? I think the best way to make us money, if we find someone who could do something. Is there walking on along that path, the Broad Street Parkway?
I don't think so. I don't believe so. You know, that connects with the river, and that might be a way of coordinating that. I mean, there's always been talk of a mini San Antonio where you have some river walk.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
yeah.
If there was a walk, there could be lots of little stores, but the city owns all the land, and then this way each person can buy the smallest little parcel of land. It'd be really neat. So you can get in there and own your own little thing, set up a little shop, you know, and maybe one investor can come in and build all of these things.
Well, I don't think the city owns most of that land. I think probably half a dozen different people own that land.
It's a good idea for them. Then the city should be very lenient, you know, letting them have permits, because it would give something good to the people.
Yeah.
By helping the people who own it to do something that the city wants to do, encouraging them, giving them breaks to do what we'd like. You know, like people to get out, give a lot of new businesses a chance to open. They don't need a lot of room. A lot of people now, they could do a lot of cooking at home, and then they could show the city, can come in and see that even at their home, everything is sanitary. Everywhere they buy their stuff, all the way down to where they bring it, they could show that the quality of the stuff that they're selling. So it all depends on the business.
What about the things like the arts, and they're talking about trying to put some kind of a place together where they could have the different activities associated with arts?
Now with that, my mother's going to be doing oil lessons and watercolor, anything you could think of. So I was thinking at some point in time, I'd like to bring her in and have her help teach people. But have to do it just the right way too, because if I'm promoting my mother, helping her out with teaching art, and if she's making money for giving classes, you know, I mean, I need to be careful how I do it. It's a very touchy subject.
Well, I think that people would understand that, to have people, but make it available for everybody. And they do have something once a year where they promote some of those areas over near the Broad Street Parkway for these studios and stuff.
Yeah, the Nashua Artists Association.
Right. We've reached the end of our 30 minutes.
Goes by fast. Thank you, Carl.
And I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'd like to tell the audience that these interviews with the 6 mayoral candidates will be shown on Channel 96 the week before the primary, so that you have an opportunity to evaluate all the candidates and make a wise vote. And Duck, good luck for you.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll make the past the primary, and if so, we'll do another interview then. If not, we'll see what your future holds.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Carl Seidel, host of The People's View. The show is sponsored by the Nashua City Republican Committee, and if you like to attend our meetings, they're the second Thursday of every month at 6:30 at the Crown Plaza. And if you want to find out more about our organization, you can go to nashuagop.org to see our website and learn about the events that we have.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.